Alright guys, you wanted us, you got us. All 200 of you voted that you wanted the Bold N3 to go up against the LG V60 for some reason. I don't know why, but this is what y'all chose. And well, here we are. We got front-facing footage. The Bold N3 can record at 1080p while the V60 can do 4K. And we're going to be taking some pictures and comparing both of these devices side by side as far as the specs go. So let's go ahead and get started with some pictures. All right. The Bold N3 go up against the LG V60 of all the phones, or the ones that I listed on the list. And well, here we go. Even though the V60 will totally kick the Bold N3's ass when it comes down to comparison and as far as the capabilities of these two devices. So let's go ahead and start off. Before we do, go ahead and subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified on future videos just like the one you're about to watch today. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and do a boot up test, see which one boots up first. And let's go ahead and go on over some of the dimensions of each of these devices. So the V60, pretty chunky, pretty big device, comes in about 6.67 inches from top to bottom. It is about 3.6 inches wide and 0.35 inches thin. So it's definitely a chunky device. It weighs at about 7.51 ounces. And it is constructed out of aluminum and glass on the back, Gorilla Glass 5 on the front, and Gorilla Glass 6. And Gorilla Glass 6 on the back. So very nice IP68 dust and water resistant. So we got the Bold in that just rebooted a little bit quicker than the V60. So now we are in to both of these devices, so that's pretty cool. Bold just a little bit quicker as far as rebooting than the V60. V60 IP68 dust and water resistance with the MIL STD810G, compliant with that military drop resistance, which I don't know what that means. Glass is glass. It's going to break if you drop this device. Going on over to the Bold N3 as far as the design goes, 6.64 inches from top to bottom. And it is 2.94 inches wide, so definitely a little bit more of a narrow phone, and 0.34 inches thin. So it's definitely a lot easier and a lot more comfortable to hold in the hand. It weighs at about 6.35 ounces, so it weighs a little less than the V60, probably because of that frame is going to be made out of a plastic. I know people are saying it's metal, but I think it is definitely plastic just because it's not cold to the touch. And you could tell when the frame is going to be metal or plastic. You know when you feel it. This is not cold to the touch. This phone's been sitting here. It is definitely plastic. As far as IP rating, there is no IP rating on here. As far as Gorilla Glass, it does not specify what type of glass is going to be on here. You do get a curved display, so it's a little bit more up to date when it comes down to design. It looks a little bit more premium and more recent, as far as the V60 being more of a traditional look when it comes down to those cameras, as you can see right there, but almost about the same size. The Bold being a little bit more sleeker and more rounded off than the V60. Now going on over to the displays on both of these guys. So the V60 has a POLED 6.8 inch display, does support HDR10 plus, and it is a resolution of 1080 by 2460 with 395 pixels per inch. You get about 83.6%. You get about 83.6% screen to body ratio on here, and some sizable bezels on here as well. You do get that notch up top compared to the Bold N3. You get an always on display, of course, on both of these. The Bold N3's display is going to be a 6.8 inch 1080p by 2340 display. It is a curved display with 90.9% screen to body ratio, and it does support 120 Hz refresh rate, while the V60 is going to be capped out at 30, while the V60 is going to be capped out at 60 Hz when it comes down to that refresh rate. And as far as display goes, The Bold does get a little bit brighter. Then the V60 actually gets a lot brighter than the V60. And the colors over here are definitely saturated, but I think people will prefer the more natural look of the V60 compared to punchy, brighter colors. Of course, there are settings that you could go in and tweak yourself and change them if you want to have more of a natural look over here on the Bold. But I like things vivid. And yeah, I think the Bold does win with that 120 hertz brighter display, and it is curved. You do get a hole punch cutout for that front facing camera. So yeah, it's up to you guys which one you think looks better. A lot of people prefer your natural look of the V60. Now, both of these devices are running Android 13. The V60 over here is running Android 13, Snapdragon 865 processor with the Adreno 650. You get 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of expandable storage. So you do get a micro SD card up here with the SIM tray. For the V60, you also do get a headphone jack with the legendary quad DAC. So you could hook this up to your car and get excellent audio. When it comes down to auxiliary, you can plug in a nice pair of headphones and get some nice audio with the V60. You get a lot of tweaking on here. You do get LG's 3D surround sound, which is fantastic. Over here, you also get your quad DAC and things like that. So that is fantastic for the V60. Unfortunately, the Blue does not have a headphone jack and does not have any sort of Dolby Atmos or anything like that. So keep that in mind. The Blue is going to be a budget device, while the V60 is a flagship device, but older. So the V60 can be had for about $200, while the Blue, $250, $299. But you do get more of an updated design over here for the Blue. But the V60 is no slouch. $200 for this device is a steal. So going on over to the Blue, like I said, running Android 13, you get the MediaTek Dimensity 7050 for the CPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, no micro SD card expansion, and the GPU is going to be the Mali G68 MC4 GPU. Now, as far as performance-wise, both of these are actually really good. The Blue surprising me. Very fast and snappy device, can handle pretty much anything, editing videos, taking videos, did not have any heating issues or anything on the Blue, while the V60 is definitely more of a powerhouse, and it does handle video editing and everything you throw at it. Yes, the CPU is older by at least 3 years, but it's still a powerhouse. They both have 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I think they're going to be doing pretty good. Now, as far as software updates, the Blue is not going to be known for getting monthly security patches, so you're probably going to get bi-monthly, and we might see Android 14, but that's pretty much it. Blue devices don't really focus on their updates and security patches as much. The V60 support's sort of winding down for all of LG devices since they don't make them anymore. So we're nearing the end of support for the V60, so pretty much these devices are the same. When it comes down to software support, you're not going to get much on them. So whatever they're running now is pretty much what they're going to be running for as long as you have the devices. Now going on over to the cameras of these devices. Now this is where the V60 definitely wins when it comes down to cameras. So as far as the main sensor, it is a 64 megapixel with an aperture of f1.8. You do get PDAF, autofocus, and optical image stabilization. You do get an ultra wide that is 13 megapixels, aperture of f1.9, and you get a time of flight 0.3 megapixel time of flight 3D sensor on the back. That way it helps with, you know, bokeh and things like that, depth sensing and all of that. You can record up to 8K on the V60. Front facing camera is going to be a 10 megapixel front facing camera with an aperture of f1.9. And you can also record 4K 30 frames per second on this front-facing camera. Now going on over to the Blue, you do get a 50 megapixel main sensor with an aperture of f1.9, PDAF autofocus, no optical image stabilization. It's going to have EIS instead of actual built-in stabilization. You get an 8 megapixel ultra-wide aperture of f2.2. and a 2 megapixel macro sensor with an aperture of f2.4. No OIS on this device, and you could only record 4K 30 frames per second on the BLU's rear facing camera. Front facing camera is a 16 megapixel sensor with an aperture of f2.5, and you can only record 1080p 30 frames per second on this front facing camera. So cameras, the V60 takes the cake. You do not get any optical image stabilization on the BLU, so video is very shaky and jittery all over the place when you're walking, while the V60 is definitely more powerhouse when it comes down to photography and video taking. You also do get manual mode on the V60 compared to just pro mode for photos on the BLU. The V60 offers a lot more when it comes down to manual video and manual camera for tweaking your settings, while the BLU just has a pro mode for your camera but no video when it comes down to that. So pictures on the BLU come out pretty good. They're very saturated, and they actually sometimes have a little bit more detail than the V60, but the V60 takes a lot more natural shots. Things aren't oversaturated on the V60. Everything looks more natural, more, you know, as far as the color tones, they look just a little bit more pleasing. Video definitely a lot better on the V60 when it comes down to video stabilization and having more options compared to the BLU. Video absolutely sucks on the BLU, while the V60 definitely takes the cake when it comes down to cameras. You'll be seeing some pictures flash on your screen. That way you guys can let me know in the comments which one you think looks better. I think they go back and forth with pictures, with video. The V60 wins. So as far as speakers go, the BLU only has a bottom firing speaker, no stereo speakers, while the V60 does have stereo speakers, along, like I said earlier, with that quad DAC. So a lot better audio quality and tweaking over here on the V60 when it comes down to listening to Bluetooth and using the external speakers. You get a lot better audio compared to just the regular mono speaker. So let's go ahead and take a listen on how both of these devices sound compared to each other. Alright, so what do you guys think of the speaker quality of both of these devices? I think the V60, of course, wins again because of those stereo speakers, and you do have a quad DAC with a headphone jack, so V60 takes the cake when it comes down to audio. Now, both of these devices do have optical in-display fingerprint sensors, which I was surprised by the BLU, considering this is pretty much a budget device. It works really well and probably just about the same speed as the V60 when it comes down to speed. Yeah, probably about the same when it comes down to the speed of both of these in-display fingerprint sensors. It is a toss-up when it comes down to that. You do get facial recognition on the Bold. You do not get facial recognition on the V60. And of course, you have your PIN and passwords and things like that for security. Now, when it comes down to batteries on both of these, you do get a 5,000 milliamp hour battery on the V60 with 25 watt charging and 15 watt wireless charging on the V60. So that's fantastic. A lot better battery life over here, while the BLU comes with a 4,700 milliamp hour battery with 66 watt charging, no wireless charging. So as far as speeds go, the BLU definitely wins with that high 66 watt charging, but the V60 is a little bit more versatile with that wireless charging and a little bit better battery life on the V60. But the BLU's no slouch. It will get you through a whole day and then some. So battery life on both of these are definitely full day devices, and then some depending on your usage. Everybody is different. So on the V60 you do get Bluetooth 5.1 on the Blue, at Bluetooth 5.2, Wi-Fi 6 on the Blue as well, and Wi-Fi 6 on the LG V60. Now both of these devices do have NFC, so that's awesome. You can use your Google Pay and other things like that with both of these, so that's fantastic. So as far as colors go, the V60 comes in classy blue and classy white. This is obviously the classy blue. While over here on the Blue phone, it just came in this, I guess it's emerald color that it came in. So it's very nice when it comes down to design. And as far as design goes, I think the Blue looks really good and just has a more unique look than the traditional look of the V60. But as far as durability goes, I'm going to have to give that to the V60 just because it's built like a freaking tank. You could throw this device at somebody and hurt the person with the V60, while the Blue might break with that curved screen. Of course, both of these devices will probably break, but you know, glass is glass, glass will break. As far as customization goes, the Blue has very nice customizations, pretty much a stock Android experience, while the V60 is a little bit more like LG when it comes down to customization. You do get some customization on the LG when it comes down to theming, but not really much. And you could change some of the colors, while over here on the Blue, you get a little bit more customization as far as colors go. Now the V60 does offer more always on display clocks, so you could choose from a little bit more different styles on the clocks, while the Blue just comes with 3. And you also do get your toggles on the screen of the always on display with the LG V60, so that's fantastic. You could toggle your flashlight on and things like that from your always on display. You don't even have to unlock your phone. While over here on the Blue, you have to unlock it and do everything else with the Blue. Not really too much when it comes down to shortcuts on your always on display. So as far as which one wins, that is up to you guys, whichever one you want to purchase and pick up. Personally, I think the V60 is still a powerhouse. Even though this phone came out in 2020, it's still a fantastic phone. Going on 4 years this phone has been out, while the Blue, yes, it's a little bit newer, has a little bit more of a newer processor, and has a little bit better specs with that high refresh display, but it is considered a budget phone, so they did cut corners with that camera and the software support. But then again, LG is out of the game. They're not going to be supporting their smartphones for much longer when it comes down to that. Maybe both of these devices will get Android 14. Who knows? We'll see. And as far as security patches, well, it's kind of up in the air. They're not going to be too, they're not going to prioritize security patches for much longer. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this comparison of the Bold N3 versus the LG V60. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and that's quite all right. And I will see you next time here on Sick Eric Tech. Y'all take care now. Peace.